Well, I can't say that I really had a hard war experience. Number one, I was an officer. And secondly, I was in the Navy. And thirdly, I was in the Navy Air Force. And I was in the Navy Air Force on a new kind of airplane. And I was in on a new project that the U.S. government was showing off to various people in the world. So that there were times when we traveled to Europe in this big, beautiful 4-engine Lockheed Constellation aircraft and showed it off to visiting dignitaries. At that time, if you left college, you were susceptible to be drafted. So I was going to be leaving college, and I was susceptible to be drafted. I gave up that part of my life, although I did go back to it after I left the service. And fortunately, my rich uncle paid for my going to college. And I had 2 years of what was called ROTC training. ROTC stands for Reserve Officer Training Corps. And so I declared my intentions, and they promptly shipped me off to have a physical. Well, I flunked the physical. Okay, so 2 years go by, and the time comes, and I get my letter from the government that says, you know, report for your physical. And I went down to the Army training area and told them my story, and they said, well, that may be true, but the criteria for being a private in the Army is much different than being an officer in the Army. And so even though you flunked the ROTC physical, I'm quite sure that you'll pass the physical that we have for you. And I quickly said to him, do I have time to go down and enlist in the Navy? He said, oh yeah. He said, you've got a couple weeks now. So I ran down the street into the Navy recruiting office and said, I want to join the Navy. I'm a college graduate. I want to be an officer. They said, okay, come this way.
I think the reason that we fought in World War II, and we're still fighting, is for the 4 freedoms. A lot of people in today's generation really realize that the 4 freedoms, the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, freedom from fear, and freedom from want. That's what we were really fighting for, and I think today a lot of people don't realize, these generations, how important those things are. Somebody asked me one time, what do I think is the most important of those? And I think freedom of speech is. If you don't have freedom of speech, you can't advocate for the other 3 freedoms, or what other freedoms that might be you might have a lot of feelings for that you think you as a person or any person should have. And you know, I'm going to go back a little bit because I was in the 557 Field Artillery Battalion. It was the largest, we had the largest gun on a tank. Outside of Normandy, this was probably one of the toughest battles that U.S. troops had. I was in what they call the survey section. I was not in a gun crew. But in actual combat, the survey section did forward observation. So we were sitting on the side of the river on in the attic of a large house that sat on the side of the river, and the Germans were on the other side. From doing forward observation here, we could see the gun emplacements that the Germans had on the other side, machine gun emplacements. So, and our troops had to go down, cross this river, and go up against those machine guns. And the engineers finally got a bridge across there. And then finally in the afternoon, we were, the mechanized units were able to get across. And our unit was one of them. And as we got up and started going down the road, then you saw bodies on each side of the road, both German and American troops. I think that's one of the toughest things that I actually saw. There were others, but I think that was the toughest. You know, you sacrifice your time, you know, but when you look back, that time, I'm 96 years old now, it's minuscule when you come right down to it. But you know, it changed your life. I did get married when I was in the service. We did have a child when I was in the service. Yes, I wasn't around for her birth, you know, the birth of our first child. But you do miss out on that. You miss out on the other things that go with when you're first married, a honeymoon and things like that. The being in the service itself was a big event. You just don't ever forget that. You don't forget those experiences because they were very serious incidents. The one I told you about was the worst one, but there were others along the line, and they do affect your life, I think, those memories, yeah.
Well, I asked them to draft me. I passed my boards, and I want to put in my 2 years, and I just feel I owed it to my country to serve. And they stationed me on the island of Oahu in the Hawaiian Islands. And oh, this was beautiful, nice. And I said to Joyce, come on, here, it's so nice I want you here with me. And her parents thought, no, she can't go. My mother came into the picture and said, my son wants you. Here's the money, go. And so Joyce joined me in Hawaii. So I said, well, when we get out, we have to buy all our furniture and so forth. Let's have a baby now. She didn't think, well, having a baby so far away from home. Let me see what the hospital's like. And so she went into, and Triple Army Hospital is on the top of a mountain, sort of, outside Honolulu. Oh, it's a nice, it was a beautiful hospital. So life went along. My two daughters got married. We didn't really need a house, so we got a condominium. After about 18 years, my wife said she didn't want to cook anymore. And we were at an art show here. I said, I could be happy here. So we said, okay, when we're 70, 3 more years, call us. And we've been here at that time 15 years. And suddenly things didn't go well, and she died. I don't have her anymore, but I have 2 daughters. So I better stick around and be with them. They are great. And that's really the story of my life.